The scissors were still warm when I found them on my childhood dresser at 3:17 a.m., the night before my wedding. I'd woken to a sound I couldn't name, fabric tearing like flesh. My bedroom door was cracked open exactly 2 inches, the way it always creaked when someone wanted to pretend they hadn't been inside. Moonlight cut across the carpet and lit up the carnage. $5,000 of silk, lace, and tulle shredded into white ribbons, strewn across the floor like the aftermath of a bomb no one heard. My first thought wasn't rage. It was recognition. This was the final exam in a test I'd been taking my entire life. I'm Captain Riley Harper, United States Marine Corps. I've led convoys through Fallujah, carried wounded Marines on my back, and earned a chest full of medals my own parents never learned the names of. Yet here I was, 31 years old, kneeling in the ruins of tomorrow's wedding gown while my family slept down the hall. Dad's voice still echoed from 2 hours earlier, casual as passing the salt. You always did think you were too good for us, Riley. Maybe it's time you remembered where you came from. Mom had stared at her plate. My younger brother Ethan had smirked into his phone. I picked up the scissors. The handles still held the heat of someone's palm. I knew whose. Instead of screaming, I did what I'd been trained to do: assess, adapt, overcome. By 4 a.m., I was dressed in my Marine Corps blue dress uniform, every ribbon perfect, white gloves spotless, cover tucked under my arm. I left the shredded gowns exactly where they lay, a crime scene no one would dare touch again. I drove through the sleeping North Carolina town with the windows down, salt air whipping my face, until I reached the little white chapel on Oak Street. Dawn hadn't broken yet, but the parking lot was already filling with early guests in pastel dresses and seersucker suits. I stepped out of the car. Conversation stopped like someone hit mute. Aunt Marlene dropped her coffee. Uncle Gary, retired gunnery sergeant, snapped to attention without thinking. My fiancé Lucas, God, that man, saw me from across the lot and broke into the proudest grin I'd ever seen. Inside the chapel, my family sat in the front left pew looking smug, waiting for the runaway bride gossip to start circulating. Dad had probably already drafted the "Riley got cold feet" text to the relatives. They didn't see me until the organist began the processional. I started down the aisle alone, heels clicking on hardwood, saber at my side, metals catching every shard of stained glass light. Silence detonated. Mom's mouth opened soundlessly. Ethan's face went the color of ash. Dad stood halfway up, then sat back down hard, like the pew slapped him. Half the congregation were military or prior service. You could feel the room reorient itself around a different kind of authority. I stopped 5 feet from my parents. Dad found his voice first, low and venomous. Take that ridiculous costume off and put on a proper dress, Riley. You're embarrassing us. I didn't flinch. The only thing embarrassing this family is what you did to mine at 3 o'clock this morning. Mom gasped, a wet, panicked sound. Ethan tried to sink through the floorboards. I turned to the packed chapel and spoke loud enough for the back row to hear. Last night my father and brother cut every wedding dress I owned to pieces. They left the scissors on my dresser like a signature. Their reason? Because I had the nerve to outrank, out-earn, and outgrow the little box they built for me. A collective intake of breath. Phones lowered. No one wanted to miss this. I looked back at Dad. You wanted me small enough to control. Instead, you made me impossible to ignore. Lucas's grandfather, a 91-year-old Iwo Jima Marine, rose slowly from his seat. Captain Harper, may this old devil dog have the honor? He offered his arm, metals older than I was clinking softly. I took it. As we walked the rest of the aisle, I heard my father's voice crack behind me, not with anger this time, but with something that sounded dangerously close to regret. I was wrong. The words were so quiet I almost missed them. The ceremony was short, perfect, and ours. Lucas kissed me like I was the only country he'd ever fight for. When the officiant pronounced us married, the applause wasn't polite. It was a roar. At the reception, my parents sat at a corner table looking shell-shocked and suddenly very old. Dad's hands shook holding a cup of coffee he wasn't drinking. He approached me during the father-daughter dance that wasn't supposed to happen. Riley, he started, then stopped. Cleared his throat. Tried again. I don't deserve to ask this, but may I? Lucas stepped aside, without hesitation. Dad, and I swayed awkwardly to an old Sinatra song. Halfway through, his voice broke against my ear. I thought if I cut the dresses, you'd have to stay. That you'd finally need us again. I didn't understand you never stopped needing us. You just stopped letting us hurt you. I didn't answer right away. When the song ended, I stepped back. Healing starts with scissors staying in drawers, Dad. And with words that build instead of blades that cut. He nodded, tears falling onto his rented tux. I'll earn the right to try. However long it takes. It's been 18 months now. Dad flies the Marine Corps flag beneath the American one every single day. Mom has memorized what every ribbon means and cries when she talks about it. Ethan enlisted, says he wants to understand what he spent years resenting. Some wounds close clean. Others leave scars you wear like medals. I still have one strip of the original lace from my first choice gown. I keep it in the inside pocket of my service alphas, right over my heart. Proof that even when they try to tear you apart, the pieces can still hold you together. And every time a young woman messages me saying her family doesn't understand her service, I send her the same 3 words.